Hi, today we're going to talk about how to use exponents. The first thing we need to know that exponents, their purpose is to show repeated addition in a short way. If you take a look, it's called a power, which has two parts. One is the base and one is the exponent. We read them different ways. So if I take a look at this, 2 to the 6th power, 2 is my base and my exponent is 6. Well, what does that really mean? It means I take my base, which is my factor, 2, and I multiply it by itself 6 times. So my base is used as a factor 6 times. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 to the 6th power is 64. How did I get that? 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64. And that's it. It's just a shortcut for writing it. So remember, this whole thing here is the power, 2 to the 6th power, and that's how I read it. 2 is my base, 6 is my exponent, and this is it written in expanded form. Let's take a look at one. Write using exponents. -5 times -5 times -5. My base is -5, and it's there 3 times, -5 to the 3rd power. Or we can also use the word cubed. To the 3rd power is cubed, and to the 2nd power is squared. Take a look at letter B. -2 times A times B times A times A. Well, what do I have here? We always start with what we call the coefficient, the number first, -2, and then my variables go in the order of the alphabet. A comes before B. So A, how many times is it there? 1, 2, 3 times. That's where the exponent's coming from. And B is there once. Let's try a couple. I want you to write using exponents again. 6 times 6 times 6. Well, how do I write that using exponents? 6 to the 3rd. -3 times -3 times -3 times -3. My base is -3, and it's there 4 times. So -3 to the 4th power. 4 times y times x times y. Well, we always start with the number first. X comes before y in the alphabet. So it's going to be xy. And if you take a look, I only have one x, but I have 2 y's. This is understood to be a 1. We just don't put it in. Okay, so it's 4xy squared. Look at example 2. A microscope can magnify a specimen 10 to the 3rd times. How many times is that? Well, how would I write that out? I want to now solve this. 10 to the 3rd is 10, which is my base, times 10 times 10, which 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000. Let's try a couple. I want you to solve these. 6 to the 2nd power. Well, what is that? 6 times 6, which is 36. Look at number 5, evaluate. This is the trickiest one you're going to have in this whole section, and they do get really confusing. This is saying the opposite of a to the 4th. This is saying -a to the 4th power. I want you to evaluate, which we know the word means solve, for when a is 2. So look at the difference here. This is saying the opposite, I'm saying 2 to the 4th power. All right, this I'm saying -2 to the 4th power. So that parenthesis there changes the whole entire problem. All right, the exponent is going to the a. This is saying opposite of whatever that is. This exponent is going to a -a. So 2 to the 4th power is 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 is times 2 is 16. So this is 16. Now take the opposite of that, which is a -16. This is saying -2 times -2 times -2 times -2. All right, which is, let me write it out here. So when I have a negative to an even exponent, my answer is positive, because a negative times a negative is a positive, times a negative would be a negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So it keeps flipping back and forth. So a shortcut is a negative to an even exponent is positive. A negative to an odd exponent is negative. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. This answer is 16. So be careful. Here it's negative 16, here it's positive 16, and they are tricky. Okay, now we're going to use order of operations, and we used the word before when we were talking about this PEMDAS. Parentheses, E exponents. Parentheses are your grouping symbols, E exponents, and then we've worked with the multiplication or division from left to right. That's why that arrow's there, whichever comes first, and likewise for addition or subtraction, whichever comes first from left to right. Let's take a look at example 3. Simplify for letter A. Okay, I have 4 times the quantity, 3 plus 2 to the second power. Well, we're following the order of operations. I have to do what's in parentheses first. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, so now my problem becomes 4 times 5 to the second power. I don't multiply first. The next step is exponents. 5 to the second power is 5 squared, so it's 5 times 5, which is 25. Now I multiply. 4 times 25 is 100. Evaluate, we know, means to solve. So here's that negative again, so be careful. Negative 2x to the third plus 4y, for when x is negative 2 and y is 3. So not only do I have the opposite of 2x cubed, I also have x being negative. So that's where you're going to get stuck. So if I take that negative 2 and I put it in here for this variable x, negative 2 to the third power. Now I'm going to take that y equals 3 and put 3 in for y. Now negative 2 to the third power. Remember what I said before, a negative to an even power is positive. A negative to an odd power is negative. So I have a negative to an odd power, all right, so that's going to be a negative. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So that's going to be a negative 8, and then I have a negative 2 I'm going to bring down, and 4 times 3 I substitute, and I saw 4 times 3 is 12. Negative 2 times a negative 8 is a positive 16. Plus 12 is 28. Let's try a couple. Simplify 2 times 5 squared plus 4 times negative 3 to the third power. Okay, so I have nothing in parentheses. These parentheses are only showing you negative 3 to the third power. So my next step is exponents. So I'm going to take care of 5 squared is 25. Bring that down. Plus 4 times negative 3 to the third power. A negative to an odd exponent is negative. 3 to the third power. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. 2 times 25 is 50, plus 4 times negative 27 is negative 108. 50 plus a negative 108 is a negative 58. Notice you're seeing this V shape that's taking effect. That's exactly how I want you to write it down. It's like a funnel coming down, starting off with numerous terms and getting smaller, smaller, smaller. Let's evaluate the next one. 3a squared plus 6. A is negative 5. So 3 parentheses negative 5 squared plus 6. So first step is substitution. I don't have any parentheses to clear. These parentheses are showing me what number is being raised to the exponent. Negative 5 to the power of 2. It's an even exponent. So therefore my answer is going to be positive. Negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. Bring down everything else one step at a time. 3 times 25 is 75 plus 6. And finally, my answer is 81. And that's it. Good luck.